I want to ask you to be honest with me for a second. Not about how many times you started, we've already talked about that. I mean, how many times have you actually finished? A program, a challenge, a plan you made on a Sunday night with real intention behind it? Something you committed to for 60 days or 6 months? Something you saw all the way through to the end? For most people, that number is very different from the number of starts. And I think the reason why is one of the most misunderstood things in the entire weight loss conversation. We talk a lot about motivation, about finding it, about keeping it, about what to do when it fades. We treat motivation like an engine. Like if you could just figure out how to keep that engine running, everything else will follow. But I don't think motivation is the engine. I think motivation is the ignition. It gets you started. It does not get you finished. And for years, every time ignition clicked off, I thought something broke. I thought I broke. I thought the absence of the feeling meant the absence of commitment. And I walked away from things that were actually working because they stopped feeling like they were working. That pattern cost me years. And today I want to talk about it, honestly. I want to tell you about January. Not this January, every January. There's a version of me that shows up every January that is genuinely, sincerely fired up. He has thought about it. He has made the decision. He has the plan ready. The gym bag is packed the night before. The meals are prepped. The alarm is set for a time that would make any reasonable person question their choices. And he goes. He does the work. And for a few weeks, he is the person that he's been trying to become. And then something happens. It's never something dramatic. There's no catastrophic event. Life just gets normal. The job gets busy. The days get shorter. The motivation that was so loud in January gets quiet. And somewhere in the quiet, he stops. Not because he decided to stop. He just didn't go one day. And then the next day, the guilt from missing yesterday makes it harder to start again. And then a week passes. And then the January version of him starts to feel like a character he was playing for a little while. Someone he visited, not someone he became. And then March arrives and the gym is empty again. I did that cycle so many times, I have lived every version of it. The version where I got really far and then lost it. The version where I barely got started before the wheels came off. The version where I had good momentum going into a holiday and came out the other side having lost all of it. And every single time, the story I told myself was the same. I ran out of motivation. As if motivation was a finite source I had burned through. As if the problem was that I didn't have enough of it or couldn't find more of it. It took me a long time to figure that out. It took me a long time to figure out that was wrong. Motivation is not designed for what we're trying to use it for. Motivation is the starting emotion. It's designed to initiate, to push you through the door when inertia wants to keep you still. It is the feeling that makes the first step possible when the first step feels impossible. It's very good at that job. What it is not good at is maintaining. It cannot sustain a 6-month transformation. It cannot carry you through week 7 when week 7 feels identical to week 4 and the scale hasn't moved in 2 weeks. And part of your brain that manages comfort is wondering why you're doing this to yourself. Motivation cannot do that. That is not what it is. And here's the cruel irony. The moment when motivation disappears is almost exactly the moment when real change is beginning. Think about that. For the first few weeks of any program, you have the fuel of a new beginning. Everything is novel. You're learning things, you're seeing early results. The body responds quickly at the start, and all of that novelty and progress generates its own momentum. And then the novelty runs out. The quick, early results slow down, the process becomes repetitive. You're doing the same things you did last week, and the results are coming more slowly now because that's just how results actually work. And that moment, the moment where it stops feeling exciting and starts feeling like maintenance, that is actually the moment where the real work is happening. That is the moment your body is adapting. Your habits are forming, your defaults are shifting. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like nothing's happening. And so people stop right at the moment when everything is starting. That's not a motivation problem. That's a misunderstanding about what transformation actually feels like from the inside. I want to talk about excitement for a minute, because I think excitement might actually be one of the more dangerous feelings in this process. Excitement is addictive. The feeling of starting something new, the feeling of possibility, the feeling that this time you've really figured it out. You found the right plan, you're going to be different this time. That feeling is genuinely powerful, and it is also temporary by design. Excitement is not the same thing as commitment. But for most people, it feels like commitment. It feels like the beginning of something real. And when the excitement fades, as it always does, because that's what excitement does, they interpret the absence of excitement as the absence of commitment, and they quit. What they don't realize is that commitment actually starts where excitement ends. Commitment is what takes over when the novelty is gone and you're just doing the thing again. For the 87th time on a Wednesday when nothing about it feels special. Most people never get to experience what commitment actually feels like because they leave when the excitement does. I was one of those people for a very long time. I would feel the excitement fade and I would think, I've lost my why. And I will go looking for it, try to manufacture that feeling again, watch something inspiring. But here's what I actually eventually understood. I didn't lose my why. I just stopped feeling excited about it. Those are not the same thing. Your why doesn't live in a feeling. It lives in a decision you made at some point that still stands whether you feel it or not. The thing that changed for me was understanding what finishing actually requires. It doesn't require sustained excitement. It doesn't require feeling motivated every day. It doesn't require a perfect streak. What it requires is being willing to do the boring things repeatedly without needing them to be significant. That sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but I think most of us on some level believe that commitment should feel a certain way. That if we're really in it, we'll feel in it, you know what I'm saying? And when we stop feeling it, we take that as information. The truth is that the absence of feeling means nothing about whether you should keep going. The gym on a Tuesday in March, when you've been going for 10 weeks and nothing feels new anymore, and the scale hasn't moved in 2 weeks, and you're a little tired from work, that session means more, not less, than the session on January 5th when you were fired up and ready. Because anyone can do January 5th. That one's easy. The January 5th energy does the work for you. March on a Tuesday is where you find out who you actually are. And I've come to believe that March Tuesday is where transformations actually happen. Not in the exciting sessions, in the unremarkable ones, in the ones that didn't feel like anything mattered. in the consistency that nobody saw and nobody applauded. That's where the person gets built, not the body, the person. The shift that changed everything for me was not a motivational realization. It was an identity one. I stopped asking, do I feel like going to the gym today? And I started asking, is this who I am? Those questions produce completely different answers. The first question is answerable by your mood, by how you slept, by whether the weather is bad, by 100 factors that have nothing to do with what you're trying to build. The second question can only be answered by looking at your history. And your history is built by what you actually do. Not what you intend to do, what you actually do. So every time I go when I don't feel like going, I'm not just getting a workout in. I'm casting a vote for the person I'm trying to become. I'm adding evidence to the case. And over time, the case gets strong enough that the question stops being a real question. You don't ask yourself whether you're going, you just go. Because that's who you are now. Not because you're always motivated, because you've built the person who goes. That's what finishing looks like. Not a line you cross, a person you become. I'm not at the finish line. I want to be clear about that. I am currently in the middle of my own program. 4 weeks out from completing a 12-week commitment I made to myself, and I have had weeks in this stretch that were hard. Weeks where the motivation was completely absent. Weeks where the only reason I went was that I had decided to go before the week started. And I finished those weeks, not perfectly, but consistently. What I've noticed, working through this myself while also watching the people who reach out to this channel, is how universal this experience is. The cycle of starting and stopping. The confusion between excitement and commitment. The way people walk away from real progress because it stops feeling like progress. I've been sitting with all of that, thinking about what it would look like to build something specifically designed around these realities. Not built for the person who's fired up on January 5th. Built for the person who still needs to show up on Tuesday in March. I'm not ready to share the full picture yet, but I want you to know that it's coming. You don't keep failing because you lack motivation. You keep restarting because you've been asking motivation to do a job it was never meant to do. You've been using the ignition to try to drive the car, and every time the engine needed something more than a spark, you assume the car was broken. It's not. You just need a different fuel source for the long haul. Not excitement, not inspiration, not the feeling of a new beginning. The ordinary, unglamorous, quietly kept decision to keep going on the days it meant the least. That's what finishing is made of. And it's available to you right now on whatever day this is. I want to hear from you. How many times have you restarted? And what, if anything, finally helped you keep going past the point where most people stop? Leave it in the comments, because I think the conversation is one of the most valuable things we can have on this channel. Not the polished success stories, the honest ones. The ones that sound like I restarted 30 times and the thing that finally worked was smaller or less dramatic than I expected. I read every comment. Subscribe if you're not already, because next week, I want to talk about something that follows directly from this conversation. Something I think you're going to want to hear. I'll see you next Tuesday. I'm Coach Ron, and I'm gone.
What's up? It's your boy Drizzy Drake, and you are now rocking with Pain.